Welcome to Oak City Church, a family of learners, lovers, and givers sent. For more information, visit us online at oakcitychurch.com. Let us know if we can help you in any way. Thank you for listening.
We're in Romans 8, verses 26 to 30. Likewise, the Spirit helps us in our weakness, for we do not know what to pray for as we ought. But the Spirit himself intercedes for us with groanings too deep for words. And he who searches hearts knows what is the mind of the Spirit, because the Spirit intercedes for the saints according to the will of God.
And we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good, for those who are called according to his purpose. For those whom he foreknew, he also predestined to be conformed to the image of his Son, in order that he might be the firstborn among many brothers. And those whom he predestined, he also called. And those whom he called, he also justified. And those whom he justified, he also glorified. This is the word of the Lord.
My name is Jeff. I'm glad you guys are here this morning. Before Kate and I get started, I just need to point out, this happens now and again. As many of you know, I'm from the great state of Wisconsin. That is the place of my birth and raising. And so this morning, someone gave me this little Green Bay Packers, the team that just traded for Micah Parsons. They gave me a little bracelet. You guys should be more excited about that than you are. And then this Wisconsin jigsaw puzzle, which warms my heart. So if you ever find Wisconsin stuff, a couple years ago, Susie got me this little cup. I tried to find it, but it's at home because I use it. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. This is Kate. She is not from the great state of Wisconsin. She is from the great state
I'm from Tennessee.
From Tennessee. And scoot up a little bit closer. Look at those shoes. It's like sparkly. They're orange, too. Is that a Tennessee thing? No. Okay. Yeah, Kate has been at church for a while. Many of you are familiar with Kate's story. Some of you have been around for long enough that you kind of lived through quite a bit of Kate's story. But a lot of you don't have any idea about Kate's story. And it's, this is not an easy story. And I've thought about this for years, but Kate a couple weeks ago reached out and said, you know what, I'd like to share my story. And so that's how we got here. So Tennessee. Nashville?
Hendersonville, which is kind of a suburb of Nashville. It's about 30 minutes northeast.
Yeah. And do you have siblings?
I had an older brother.
You did?
He passed 7 or 8 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's another story we're not going to tell today.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you guys, you grew up in what being from the great state of Wisconsin and being from the North and having its own religious culture that is largely shaped by Catholics, and it's a totally different and sometimes crazy thing. And moving down here, like the whole Christian culture South thing was new to me. And there was a woman here years ago. There's a guy coming here, and he met her, and they came, and we were doing their premarital counseling. And I don't think her family ever went to church, but they prayed before every meal. And so they were Christians, but it was just like in the water, like kind of Christians. And you said it was kind of similar for you in Tennessee.
Yeah, so I remember going to church. I remember Sunday school a few times when I was maybe 5 or 6 years old. But it was a lot. We prayed before meals, and we prayed before at bedtime. My mom would come and say a prayer, and every Sunday she'd read to me from the like a children's Bible study or Bible story book. So I was right there, just not a churchgoer.
Yeah, so you don't remember going to church at all?
Not really, just a couple times, like Sunday school, but not big church.
And you said that kind of ended for you at like 8.
Because I started playing travel soccer.
Travel soccer.
And we're gone most weekends. Boo!
I'm just kidding. My kids played a lot of soccer, but kids' sports, man, are out of control. So that's what did it. You stopped, but it is, like you said, you were really good at soccer, and you started traveling, and that was the end of it. So you kind of grew up with it. Didn't seem like it layered in real deep. You went to East Tennessee State University.
Yep.
On a full ride
Yes.
scholarship.
Yes.
I think you said they paid you.
Well, they paid me because my mom was a public school teacher, and so I just had to go and tell whoever the money people are My mom teaches public school and showed them some sort of proof, and they would write me a check. Well, they wrote me a check because I'd already, whatever. It was to come back, like it would pay for some of the tuition, but because tuition's paid for, I just got the money in my pocket.
Good deal, Kate. And you went to be pre-vet.
Yes, I thought I was going to be a vet. Mm-hmm.
But then you went to like a vet.
Well, yeah, I went to a vet's office a couple times, and I was just like, I don't think so.
That can happen when you go to college. You think it's one thing, you should probably check that out. You ended up being an English major with a psych major. And
minor, yeah.
Yes, minor. And spiritually, you just decided this wasn't important. You didn't really believe it. You weren't necessarily an atheist.
No.
You weren't angry about anything.
No.
It just was not. You were agnostic.
Yes.
At best.
Yes.
And so wrote it off.
Yep.
You got married out of college or right after college to a guy who was Catholic. You guys went to mass a little bit, but it wasn't a part of your life.
Right.
That got you to North Carolina.
Yeah.
I think he was at Elon.
Yeah, he worked at Elon.
You were like a journalist?
Yeah, I actually got a job with the Alamance News, which is a weekly newspaper. I wrote some, went and covered some things, and I was supposed to do ad sales. Didn't sell a single ad. Yeah.
And then, that marriage dissolved, and you ended up at Carolina Law School.
That's right.
And you did pretty well there.
Yes.
What'd you finish in your class?
First.
First in her class. Is Isaac? Isaac? What'd you finish? Where's Isaac? What'd you finish in your class, Isaac? He was up here last week. I don't see him. Yeah, number one in your class at Carolina Law is a big deal. And you ended up downtown at a firm called Smith Anderson.
Yep.
This was in 2009. Started doing, you said litigation.
I started off litigation because...
But you didn't like litigate. You weren't like...
No, I wasn't in court. I just doing research and, writing up what I found. Yeah.
Yeah. And you ended up in employee benefits.
That's right, employee benefits and executive comp. But I did a little estate planning on the side, and that was my super fave.
And you were really good at your job.
Yes. I mean, I don't want to be brag face, but yes.
Yeah. And this will come up later in context of a disability case. And will make more sense in a few minutes, but this is funny because a year ago, I was at like a end-of-year soccer banquet for the high school, and there's this kid that Johnny had played with that was graduating, and his older brother played with my older son, Michael. So I've known this family since Michael was like this big, and the guy was a lawyer. We just didn't talk much on the sidelines. So we're at this banquet waiting for the thing to start, and I'm just making small talk. And I'm like, "You're a lawyer, right?" He's like, "Yeah." He said, "Where do you work?" He said, "Smith Anderson." I said, "Oh." He's like, "You know it?" And I was like, "Well, I coached once with a guy whose name was Zeb Anderson who worked at Smith Anderson, so I thought he was an Anderson, but he's not. But he worked there." And then I said, "And there's a lady at our church who, she was there for a while and described what we're about to describe." And he's like, "Oh, Kate was on my team, and Kate was a rock star." That's what he said. His name is Jamie Hinkle. So she was really good at her job. You met Justin.
Yes.
Some of you know Justin. Many of you don't know Justin, but was now your former husband. You met him in 2012 through a neighbor.
Yes.
He was a soccer player too. You guys went and played at probably the Tassel co-ed leagues or whatever.
Co-ed 7. The least skilled.
And the what?
The least skilled. The most just fun.
Yeah. And you guys...
We hit it off big time.
Yeah. And quick and fun and...
Yes.
You guys got married a year later?
Uh-huh.
November
2013.
Yeah. And you got married at like the Cat's Cradle or something?
Well, we got married at somewhere else. Let me think on it for a second. We got married at the chapel at the Mordecai House.
Mordecai House.
Yeah. But we took all of our guests to Cat's Cradle to see the Steep Canyon Rangers, my favorite band in the universe. They're so good. And they were playing a show there. And we were talking about getting married, we'd originally planned on getting married in May. But then we were at the Bluegrass thing in Raleigh downtown, and the Rangers were playing. And they said, "Oh, we'll be back in town November 15th. And I said, hey, we need to go to that. We need to get married that day. Take all the guests. And so he was like, but he talked him into it, and that's what we did. It was awesome.
Which gives you a little window into Kate, because who does that? Like, let's just get married at a concert, and they took a bus over to Cat's Cradle in Chapel Hill from
we'd
Raleigh,
rented a bus.
And the bass player for the Rangers knew what was going on.
Banjo
and, like,
player.
gave you a shout out.
The banjo player came out before we went in. Like a bus pulled up, we get out. I still got my wedding dress on, whatever. It's bustled. I'm not trailing. The train's not. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's the banjo player. Like, hey, and so we got to meet him, and that was awesome. And then the same thing after the show, we were gathering everybody back up to get back on the bus, and he was wandering around again. And so he took us back to meet the band.
It's pretty cool.
It
Get
was
married
awesome.
and meet the band.
Yes.
Life is good.
Life is amazing.
Yeah. 6 months later, July of 2014, you're in your office on the 26th floor of the old Wachovia building, one of the big buildings downtown.
Yes.
And you see double vision.
Yeah, I turned to look out the window, and the buildings were doubled. And I was just like, what in the world's going on?
So you go to the doctor,
Yes.
and she says,
Well, first she did blood work and said B12, and she gave me an injection and sent me home with 2 more. They didn't do anything. My balance started getting kind of iffy. So I went back, and she's like, we need to do an MRI. So she did an MRI, and she called me that afternoon and said, are you at home? And I said, no, because we were on the way to soccer. And she said, are you alone? And I said, no, my husband's here. So I put her on speakerphone, and she told me, I've had a look at your MS. I mean, at your MRI, and it looks to me like you have multiple sclerosis. And I was kind of like, okay. Had no idea what that meant. She said, you'll need to find a neurologist.
what did you think and feel in that moment?
Confused, just like, what in the world?
Yeah. And so you went to a neurologist and you had that diagnosis confirmed.
Right.
What's MS?
Multiple sclerosis is when your immune system attacks the myelin sheath surrounding your neurons, like in your brain and spinal cord. And so a lot of people, it creates physical symptoms, like, my balance was iffy at the time. A lot of people have trouble with their, like, they get foot drops, so you walk and your foot doesn't really do right, so you sort of drag. And it can be, I've met a woman who was in a powered wheelchair. Like, she really had no ability at all of anything,
And so that's technically an autoimmune
Yes, autoimmune disease.
disorder? Yeah.
Yep. No cure.
Pardon me?
No cure.
No cure. You can slow it down.
Yeah, you can take they call them disease-modifying therapies, DMTs, and that can slow down your progression and slow down disability accrual.
And your neurologist said you had an aggressive form of MS.
Yes.
What I have in my notes is countless holes in the myelin
Yes.
all over the place.
Like too many to count.
You went on a drug called Limtrada, which
Yeah.
is like you have to sit there for 5 straight days.
Yeah, you go and you sit for the whole day in this chair, kind of lean back, whatever, it's a recliner. And you got a thing in your arm, and they're giving you various drugs all day, and then you get the real drug at the end for the last 2 hours, and then you sit there for another hour, make sure you don't have any kind of reaction. And then you go home, and you come back the next day and do the same thing, that 5 days in a row. And then after that, you wait a year, and you have the same treatment for 3 days. And a lot of people, that's great, and that's all they need. And, the MS is not gone, it's not cured, but they don't have relapses anymore.
And so it did control it. Yeah, after a few years, you had a relapse.
Yes.
And so you've been up and down. You're in a clinical trial for something that's supposed to heal.
So I did the clinical trial.
You
It's
did the
done,
clinical
yeah.
trial. Yeah.
It's supposed to heal the myelin in my brain. I have no idea if I got the real drug. I have no idea if I got
if
the
you
real
got the
drug, if it was a
placebo.
high dose, low dose, or if I get the placebo. Because they said they wouldn't tell anybody that until everyone had finished the trial.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm not sure. But they'll tell my neurologist, and he'll tell me, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Whatever, maybe he will.
How did it change you?
Well, physically, I feel very fortunate. I'm still walking a lot, so I became an everyday walker. Mentally, my memory is blown. It is just blown. My cognitive ability is tough. And so, trying to work, I kept at the job for 4 years. They didn't fire me, but my salary got cut in half, and then again. And after the second cut, I was just like, all right. I mean, they'd been really accommodating. They brought a computer to my home so I could work from home, wouldn't have to come into the office all day every day because I couldn't do that. I was too tired. So I went in for half days, a few days a week. But my ability to do the work was just terrible. I can't even explain it. I don't even know. So.
Was that frustrating?
Yes.
I mean, to go from being a rock star lawyer to just the dots not connecting.
I mean, I think frustration
in the same way that they used to.
Yeah,
I mean, because you obviously remember like some things perfectly well, and you can tell us what MS is. Like some things are,
locked in.
Yeah, but other things aren't. Yeah, you talked about a loss of short-term memory, a loss of balance initially, but they kind of worked on that, and your balance isn't as much of a problem
great,
anymore.
I think now, yeah.
And for most people, MS affects them physically more than cognitively.
Yeah.
And Kate's is a rarer situation where it affected her probably more cognitively than it did physically.
Yeah.
You said you felt emotions more deeply.
Oh, yeah. I'm a crier now. I used to never cry, ever, 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 ever. Now it's like a sentimental commercial could bring tears to my eyes. Seriously.
You're always happy?
I am happy to the max. I'm sorry if that annoys any of you, but I'm just like, yay, woohoo!
What you eat is really specific.
Oh, yeah. So when MS came in my life, I asked the neurologist, like, is there some sort of diet or anything that I should follow? And he's like, oh, well, there's this Dr. Swank who came up with a low saturated fat diet, and that seems to help. So you should try that. And so my then husband looked it up and found another guy who actually was a surgeon and had gotten MS, and he did a little research and came up with a diet also similar to Swank's, but more details and yada, yada, yada. So I follow the diet I got from Overcoming MS, which is vegan plus fish, no refined sugar, no oil except an extra virgin olive. So a lot of salad, a lot of oatmeal.
In the midst of this, like in that year after it happened, you had a friend that invited you to church.
Yeah, my friend Emily, she's a friend from law school, and she's a lawyer, and she learned that I had MS, and she was like, do you want to come to church with me? And I mean, I was just, yeah, that sounds good. And so Justin and I both went, and we had a great experience with her at her church. They go to Umstead United Church of Christ, so a little bit of a drive, but we drove out there a couple times with them. But then we thought, okay.
Why don't you keep going?
I was just going to say, we thought, it's a little bit far. We need to do some church shopping closer to home.
And so you were looking. You were trying. I mean.
Yeah.
This was Justin grew up Catholic. He was lapsed from that and Northern Catholic, and we should all invite people to church more. Just saying. You never know what people are going through. Kate and Justin ended up at Oak City Church because there was a family here at the time, Kyle and Anna Custer, who some of you would remember, but they had one of the hardest situations I think I've seen, and that Anna was pregnant. I think this was their first child, and about 4 months in, they tested the amniotic fluid and found out that the baby had a condition that the vast majority of the time led to the baby going to term, being born, but only living for a couple hours. And in most cases, people terminate the pregnancy, and they weren't going to do that. And so we as a church prayed with them for like 4 months, like prayed for a miracle for 4 months, which is just hard to like stay with people in that intensity for that long, and like just can't imagine what they were going through. And they live in the same neighborhood as Kate lives in now. Kate and Justin lived in then. And that baby was born and passed away after a few hours. And we had a funeral in the Rose Garden, over on the other side of town. And you guys were either got an invite from Kyle or were on the listserv or whatever.
Yeah, because I didn't know Kyle and Anna at all, but we got information from him. I think it was a little little flyer thing, the mailbox, and I'm like, oh wow, we should go to that.
And after that, you came to the church.
Yeah, so after the thing, we went to their house just to say, hey, meet them, give them a card we got. And Kyle, he just talking to us for a little bit and was like, oh, well, we go to Oak City Church. Oak City what? Oak City Church. It's just right over, pointing towards it, right down there. Less than a mile from here. Like, wow, okay. And so we came along with them the first time.
And you got here and we're like, oh, this is it.
Oh, yeah. After church that day, we both went back to the car and we're like, yep, this is definitely it.
And it wasn't a casual thing. You guys were in.
We were in.
You got baptized.
I got baptized here. I'd never been baptized.
Understood the gospel and came to faith in Christ.
Yes.
And both of you got baptized.
Yes.
You both of you did. Started reading your Bible. You
Yes.
went through, whenever we started the YouVersion plans, you did
Yes.
it and are still doing it.
Yes.
And so, God used the church to bring you to faith, all of this,
Yes,
And,
absolutely.
for me, the Custer story leading to this story is like a Where's God When Life Happens leading to a Where's God When Life Happens. Like how God intersected those stories is crazy. But MS was dramatically affecting your life. As you said, you worked for 4 years, and then, I remember this, they had a disability case for Kate, and I think the insurance company wanted to pay her based on the salary that they had cut it down to. And the lawyers were like, we ain't doing that. And so the Smith Anderson went to bat for you and said, no, when she started working here, we would give her work. She would bring it back so fast. We were like, there's no way she finished that. And then they'd look at the work. They'd be like, she finished that fast, just like that. And because you were great. And so you ended up on a long-term disability case, but you weren't working anymore. And things changed in your relationship with Justin. You guys had been married 6 months when this happened, and your personality, and I remember talking to Justin about this because your recollection of it isn't as great, but like your personality changed dramatically and changed quickly, and that changed your relationship with Justin, the capacity for relationship with Justin. And I told Kate this the other day, and in walking alongside Kate and Justin during those years, I don't have, in 25, 30 years of ministry, this is one of my top 3 situations where when I get to heaven, I'm be like, Lord, what was supposed to happen there? Because it was just so hard. And what happened to Kate, the best comp for it might be more like a traumatic brain injury than typical MS, because her personality changed so much. And I want to be careful. Justin's not here, so it would be easy to everybody looks for a bad guy. Justin's not the bad guy.
No way.
Justin, was wrestling with his own stuff and wrestled hard and well and sought the Lord well, and but just got to a point where he asked for a separation. You guys have been going to a therapist.
Yeah.
One of the lines the therapist used is you guys need to figure out a new way to be family. Again, there's a whole other story in there. And Justin didn't want to be out of your life. He's still in your life.
We hang out every once a week.
But didn't feel like he could be married.
Right.
And I don't know. Yeah, you'd say you get more emotional about stuff. When he said he wanted a separation, you said your response was like, well, dang. But,
I didn't
but it
cry.
wasn't. Yeah, you weren't weepy. You weren't.
No.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't understand that, but
And he still is in your life. He recognizes some of your vulnerabilities. When I talked to him this week, he mentioned that he has a list of stuff by your door in case someone comes to the door trying to sell you stuff.
Yes.
Like
a script.
You got to wait. You got to wait a week before you make any decisions. In a way, he is committed himself to care for you and protect you. You said he's like a brother to you.
Yes.
And my observation back in the thick of this was that your relationship seemed like a brother-sister relationship, and that is a bit of how it's played out. And so that's hard.
It is.
I mean, the series is titled, Where is God When Life Happens? Where was God when you got MS?
I guess he was tapping me on the shoulder.
I mean, you look back and you're not mad about it.
No.
You're not frustrated about it.
No.
You feel like this is what God used to get your attention.
Absolutely.
And if not for MS, it's possible that, I mean, I think these were your words, you're still kind of a self-absorbed lawyer.
Yep.
You know, maybe on a higher floor because you're a partner.
Well, whatever.
Yeah. And so you look at it like this was a tool God used to bring you to him.
Yes.
When Kate and I were talking about this, I brought up the story of Joseph in the Bible. And to recap that story, he was, you know, the youngest or second youngest of the 12 brothers, and his brothers got mad at him and sold him to the Midianites, who took him down to Egypt. And, you know, he got into the house of the captain of the guard of Potiphar's house, and ended up a slave and then in charge of the house, and then the thing with his wife, and then he gets thrown in jail, and then the cupbearer and the baker have the dreams, but then they forget about him after he interprets the dreams, and then they remember him when Pharaoh gets mad at everybody about another dream, and then he ends up being the prime minister of Egypt. And then the family comes down because there's a famine in the land of Israel, so they come to Egypt, and they don't even recognize that it's Joseph that's the prime minister of Egypt. And it's an unbelievable, it's one of my favorite stories in the Bible, when he reveals himself and is like, I'm Joseph, and they're like, oh no. And but I preached that a handful of times, and one of the times I preached it, I thought, if I was Joseph, at the end of it, I'd be like, God, I get it, like you saved the family from a famine. Did you ever just think about sending some rain? Would that not have been an easier way to do the whole thing? Like, instead of sending me through the ringer? And I said that to you, and you were like, I said, could God have done it a different way? And you said,
Probably, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, you said, I guess so.
Sure, yeah, you know. He's God, he can do whatever.
But he didn't, you know. And we talked about when we were kids, they had those how many people had those choose your own adventure books where you know, at the end you can pick this page or this page, and you don't think about going back and wondering what it's like.
No.
And then we got talking about who the real Kate is. Is the real Kate the Kate pre-MS, or is this the real Kate?
The real Kate is me.
Yeah.
Sitting right here.
Yeah, and we got to a place of I mean, the way that you've changed, like he could have changed you to be cranky and angry and frustrated, and he didn't. He changed you to be happy and grateful and full of wonder and positive all the time. And you love this, Kate.
Yes, I do.
The verse that I had read for today is the same verse that we read last week. And that was in part based on an observation that Graham made when he and I were talking about the story late this week, where he said it's kind of like the opposite of last week. So last week, if you weren't here, we talked about Isaac Vargas's he had a cousin who was really more like a brother that died in a zipline accident when Isaac was 15 and his cousin Ozzie was 17 at Camp Oak Hill, and tragic. And immediately people tried to put certainty on it and tell him, no, God is in charge of this, and you're not going to believe how many people are going to come to faith because of what happened with Ozzie. And Isaac's like, that just makes me mad, And so they put certainty on it, and now 20 years later, Isaac, I don't think ever doubted that God was there and God's in charge, but he's not certain that he can see what happened that was good through that. He's still hard to see that was a good thing, or that he has to say that, Kate is in a situation where Kate is certain this was good. Like, she's the one with the certainty that when you talk to her, like, God used MS to get my attention and bring me to faith in him. And yeah, he changed me, and there are some ways that I was and ways that I am now, but I like who I am now, and I like the way that he changed me, and I'm certain that he used that for good. And I think the rest of us look at the situation and think, I don't know, I'm not so certain that was good. And that contrast is, that's something. And I've been thinking this week, like, I think I asked you this, like, when Kate gets to heaven, is it the old Kate and the new, which is it? And even talking to Justin this week, he said, I think when we get to heaven, all of us are going to be a bit more like Kate. And I think he's right, And so this passage in Romans, it starts, I'm going to back up in it. We know that the whole creation has been groaning together in pains of childbirth until now, and not only the creation, but we ourselves, who have the first fruits of the Spirit, groan inwardly as we wait eagerly, the adoption of sons, the redemption of our bodies. The redemption of our bodies. In this hope we're saved. Hope that is seen is not hope, for who hopes for what he sees? But if we hope for what we don't see, we wait for it in patience. Likewise, the Spirit helps us in this weakness, for we don't know what to pray for as we ought, but the Spirit himself intercedes for us with groanings too deep for words. I don't think this is the perfect interpretation of this, but in some way it's saying, like, there are times when we just don't know what to think and what to pray and how to move forward. And this was one of those times. And then it says, he who searches hearts knows what is in the mind of the Spirit, because the Spirit intercedes for the saints according to the will of God. And we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good, for those who are called according to his purpose. For those whom he foreknew, he also predestined to be conformed to the image of his Son, in order that he might be the firstborn among many brothers. And man, in some ways, like, God has used this to conform Kate to the image of his Son. How do you want people to feel about your story?
I want them to be uplifted. I want them to be happy. I don't want anyone to be miserable about it or feel bad about it. I think, just good things.
I said to Kate a few times as we were talking through this, her story, I don't know, maybe as much as any that we've talked through, is a really hard story and a really beautiful story at the same time. And I think you saw that. You agreed with that. And in all of us at some level have stories that are really hard stories and really beautiful stories at the same time. So, Kate, thanks for sharing your story with us.
Thank you.
Father, I am grateful for Kate. I am grateful that I've gotten to be a part of Kate's story, and that our church has gotten to be a part of Kate's story over these years, Lord. I'm grateful that Kate knows you, that Kate loves you, that Kate leans on you. That Kate is looking forward to an eternity with you. That this is not Kate's home, and that Kate's body is a tent. And that one day, these things that are temporary will transform into something which is permanent, Lord. I'm thankful, Lord, that I have more questions about Kate's story than Kate has about Kate's story. And I'm thankful, Lord, that you are good. And whenever we ask questions about things like these, we ask those questions in the backdrop of a God who gave his son for us because he loves us so much, Lord. And so we're grateful for Kate, and we're grateful for Kate's story, and we're grateful for your love for Kate and for us. And I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.